Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo sparked a larger conversation about how extreme thinness is actually reinforced and perpetuated by fascism.
Nobody thinks this. The entire conversation is, wow, they're really weird.
Is there really a massive government conspiracy to keep women thin and hungry so that we can't fight back when the revolution comes?
Wouldn't it be just as easy to make everybody fat and lazy? They're already complacent. No, gotta make them thin.
To at least attempt to be healthy is a deep moral failing.
Wow, what? This woman's insane.
The moneyed class with leisure is the only class capable of truly attaining health.
Acknowledging the problems of the system is good. Taking that and deciding you can't do better is what makes you a failure.
Moving your body more, eating vegetables is a conscious choice that some people can make.
Some people can make? You can't even be like, yes, guys, you should do as best that you can and you most likely can do better.
It is ableist as to decide that everyone can just choose health.
It's ableist to assume that everybody has a debilitating issue that would prevent them from eating better. If I sat on Twitter all day, this is the perspective I would have. All right, guys, this is interesting. I don't know. It just says the fascists want you thin. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. And then her shirt says, "Women don't owe you shit." Wow, that's incredible. It's probably going to be a really great video. I'm genuinely curious about what's... I don't really get it. I just think that being a little thinner is better than being overweight. But how thin are the fascists trying to make us? I don't know. Maybe they're trying to give us an eating disorder. Let's see what we got here.
Hi, it's Monday, November 24th, 2025. Okay. Welcome to Why America. I'm Legia Miller. I don't know about you, but my For You page has been dominated by discussions about the rise in popularity of extreme thinness.
Oh, mine hasn't. Mine's mostly edgy Charlie Kirk memes. I think maybe your algorithm is feeding you things that you interact with.
Perpetuated partially by the current press tour for the second installment of the Wicked franchise.
Oh, I'm pretty sure nobody thinks that that's good. Everybody makes fun of, everybody's making fun of the Wicked people. So, I don't know.
Many people have noted the extreme change in body fat percentages of the cast members.
Yeah, everybody's making fun of them. That's the funny part. Nobody takes them seriously.
Specifically Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, and Michelle Yeoh, all of whom appeared on red carpets recently looking especially gaunt. This has sparked a larger conversation about how extreme thinness is actually reinforced and perpetuated by fascism.
Nobody thinks this. I just want to be absolutely clear. The entire conversation around Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo and all them being skinny is, wow, they're really weird. Like, that's what it is. And then they're also like, dude, look at them. Like, if you could watch videos of them, like, weirdly touching each other. Like, especially Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, it's very cringy. Like, they're so defensive of each other, it's uncomfortable. Nobody's talking about how this movie's trying to pump thinness into fashion. Everybody's talking about how, like, what traumatic thing happened on the set. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Hopefully she provides a video. Can you provide us a single video from your For You page that shows this conversation happening? Or are you just using this as an opportunity to rant about something? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
And that it is no coincidence that thin is once again in now that we have a fascist regime controlling the government.
I mean, listen, I don't think Donald Trump's good. I'm not going to get into a conversation about fascism right now because I don't think it's appropriate. Not that it's an inappropriate conversation. It's just I don't care to have it right now. But what the fuck are you talking about? Also, Donald Trump is fat. So just keep that in mind as well.
But is that true? Is there really a massive government conspiracy to keep women thin and hungry so that we can't fight back when the revolution comes?
Wouldn't it be just as easy to make people, like everybody, but I guess women in this instance, fat and lazy? Why would you need to make them thin and hungry? Hey, we got a bunch of fat, lazy people. What should we do? Oh, let's make them hungry and thin. Oh, why? They're already not doing anything about anything happening. They're already complacent. No, we got to make them thin. Wouldn't them being hungry give them drive to do something? What do we got to do? Like, what? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Commentary about bodies online tends to trend towards black and white thinking, and I think that is also happening here. It also tends to ignite a firestorm of back and forth, of debate, in a way that few other subjects online tend to do. I made one offhanded single-sentence comment in a video a couple weeks ago about how I don't like diet culture because I think there are better things to be doing than starving yourself. And
well, I mean, I don't like diet culture either, but I will say it's good to lose weight. You know, it's a good thing to lose
Y'all
weight.
had more to say about that single line than about the entire rest of the video, and there's a lot to unpack there, which we'll get into. So I wanted to get to the bottom of this discussion and figure out correlation versus causation, cause and effect. Are we all getting more obsessed with thinness because of the fascist takeover in the White House? This headline from CNN caught my eye. Cynthia Erivo shields
I'm just a little okay.
Ariana Grande from barrier jumping fan. It is this video that has helped to spark the discussions about thinness and fascism online.
What? Who's sparking the discussion?
Using the Ground News browser extension, I can see
it's an ad.
that in the US, CNN is considered left-leaning. To get the big picture, I can click
You didn't know that? Or is this new to you?
on full coverage, which will show me coverage of the same story from publications across the political spectrum. My partner on today's video, Ground News, uses 3 independent monitoring organizations to assess the bias rating for each publication. Each news monitoring organization has their own methodology, including editorial reviews, blind bias surveys, independent reviews, and third-party research. These are legitimately independent organizations, but they are limited by the data available to them. Their analysis is done in the context of the US political system. Our Overton window has shifted so far right that CNN is considered left-leaning.
Okay, so just to be absolutely clear, I just want to be clear here, okay? Our Overton window has shifted, right? CNN has always been left-leaning, though. Like this video is desperate. Let me tell you, this video is desperate to be unique. Like, acknowledging the simple fact that our Overton window has shifted to, like, so far, like, yes, is true. But then to use that to say that CNN is not left-leaning, I mean, what? This gives me, like, Hassan Parker for fucking Palestine vibes, you know what I mean? You know, this gives me, like, pure fucking performative vibes here. What are you talking about? Oh,
tells you a lot about the context within which the media you're consuming operates. And thanks to Ground News, I get even more context, including how factual each publication is and who owns it, giving me a well-rounded idea of the motivations, biases, and accuracy of the news I'm consuming. Wouldn't it be great if everyone in America had that much information about the news they consume? Because depending on where you or your family members get the news, you're going to get very different takes on the same story. This is where Ground News comes.
I really can't get over the CNN is not actually left-leaning or like left thing. That's insane to me.
And why I've been using them for over a year. Today's partner, Ground News, is an app and website that offers tools to help you critically analyze the news you read, providing context to understand the full picture. I feel better equipped to make sense of what's happening in the world without being influenced by just one perspective. And I'm not the only one who loves Ground News. The Nobel Peace Center even called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. I'm always really impressed with Ground News and genuinely think they're a great resource. If you want to stay informed on US politics and more, subscribe through this QR code or my link below.
Do you actually think that they're good, or do you just get money from them so you think they're incredible?
ground.news/Legia for 40% off this unlimited access Vantage plan. It comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to all the features I've mentioned. Cool. Thanks, Ground News. First, let me take a step back to quickly define fascism, because it is a term that has been thrown around a lot lately, I think for good reason, but people tend to dismiss it as just an epithet that doesn't mean anything anymore because we use it as a label for everything.
Sure.
And the reality is,
I think there's a profound irony in you saying that about this, all things considered,
is that fascism is hard to define. It doesn't fit into a box like other isms tend to do, and it is entirely dependent on the state in which it arises. Robert Paxton's book, The Anatomy of Fascism, helps to give us a kind of definition. Under Paxton's interpretation,
Google could help that with too.
Fascism is a mass anti-liberal, anti-communist movement.
It's a far-right authoritarian political system characterized by dictatorial rule, forcible suppression of opposition, extreme nationalism, and state-controlled economy that prioritizes national self-sufficiency. That is literally what Donald Trump is doing. He is far-right. Most of what's going on boils down to like a racism good. Authoritative, absolutely. I mean, just the other day when he was in an interview with, I can't remember exactly. Oh, with like whatever, the fucking UAE guy or whatever. The 9/11 guy, no. The guy who killed Jamal Khashoggi, he was sitting here and he was like talking about how he wants the government to look into like ABC's fucking journalists because they shouldn't be able to say what they're saying. He's had the FCC go after Jimmy Kimmel. He's taken down statues that had legal permits just because he doesn't let news into the Pentagon anymore because he wants to control the media coming out of that. He's talked about running for a third term. He attacked the government, or he couped the government when he lost the election. There is an extreme nationalist perspective that does, and they are trying to literally like do self-sufficiency. That's why they're doing ridiculous, harmful tariffs to try to stop the flow of, to try to like make everything here, even though it'll be more expensive and unproductive. It's like, yeah, there you go. But he loves Zoran Mamdani, so that's cool.
Radical in its willingness to employ force, where nationhood and membership in a dominant class is put above all else, and where national unity and distinction from a class of deplorable others is reinforced by the state. And by anti-liberal, he didn't mean liberals like we use the term in modern United States, like liberals versus conservatives. He meant the term like liberalism to mean liberal economics, the idea of unrestricted free trade, a la neoliberalism, or what some might call globalism today. So an anti-liberal, anti-communist, pro-nationalist movement that revolves around membership to a prescribed group, and anyone outside that group is seen as a threat, as others in need of elimination in one way or another. The unique thing about fascism is that it matters where it develops, because 1930s Germany was far more susceptible to the argument in favor of putting the nation above the individual.
Well, yeah, because people were like economically stressed out, so that makes sense.
Whereas 2020's United States, fascism is wielded by appealing to the rugged individualism that is so ingrained in U.S. culture.
Maybe. I think that that's like untrue. The obviously it's a tactic to appeal to like masculinity. I understand that, but realistically speaking, we live at a time that is incredibly difficult, because we are making such massive technological, evolutions so quickly that we don't really know how to do it correctly, right? AI and other like robotics are displacing jobs and driving down wages. Things as simple as a GPS are lowering the wages of people who drive for a living, because now it's more accessible to learn how to drive. Now like it was a legitimate skill. It was a legitimate skill to know exactly how to get from one place to another. That's like an actual skill I don't think that people look into. You have things like Uber making it difficult for taxi drivers who spend like $1 million in a medallion in New York City. You have factories getting taken down due to automation. So to sit here and just be like, oh, it's just because they're trying to appeal to masculinity. No, people are frustrated, and that technology is being used to siphon money up to the top. So are we in as bad of a situation as Germany? No, but we're in a different, unique situation where people are losing their jobs, and we don't exactly know why, but plus like very easy media deception being pumped into people's brains.
But the pieces are all there. There's the tariffs to reinforce protectionism and bring back manufacturing and fight against globalization. There's the radical willingness to use force exhibited on January 6th, 2021, and perpetuated in our streets every day now by a growing Gestapo.
Yeah, the ICE. I mean, it's ridiculous that they're able to walk around without like having to identify themselves.
Made up of untrained, militarized, masked men who kidnap people off the streets as our government cheers. And those people being taken, the immigrants, the others, seen as such a threat to the nation, to the sense of nationhood that they claim is being eroded by our open borders, are being constantly vilified and stereotyped in seemingly never-ending propaganda pumped out by the government. The pieces are all there. Robert Paxton himself, after January 6th, determined that Trump's regime can rightfully be called fascist, okay? So it's important to take a moment to acknowledge that it is not an overstatement to call Trump a fascist or his—
I agree with that, but I don't see how this has to do with Cynthia Erivo in Wicked.
His regime fascist. Leading scholars of fascism use the term to describe this regime. We are not being hyperbolic when we are saying that we are living under an increasingly fascist regime, okay?
I don't think you are. I do think you're being hyperbolic when you say that the Wicked cast is proof that fascism wants skinny girls. I don't know. It's a little fucking crazy. It's like the definition of overthinking there.
And it is true that historically, fascist regimes like Hitler's, like Mussolini's, placed a lot of emphasis on bodies, on the physical human form as a symbol of nationhood.
Okay.
Arno Breker was Hitler's favorite sculptor, and he helped create the mythology of the Aryan race in Nazi Germany. Perfectly proportioned, lean, muscular male figures and slender, athletic women.
It seems like when things are tough, there's this like call back to like masculinity. Even if it's a performative call, because it's always like the most beta men that are talking about how there needs to be a call to masculinity, if you've ever noticed that. That's fucking interesting.
Agile, athletic body ideal was directly tied in Nazi propaganda with the strength and health of the nation, which was a really enticing image in a country that was struggling to regain its strength after World War I. The first president of the Weimar Republic in Germany between World War I and the rise of Hitler, Friedrich Ebert, was photographed in a bathing suit next to Defense Minister Gustav Noske, and the two were openly mocked for years afterwards because of how unfit they both looked.
Ooh.
The public seeing this as a metaphor for the weak and flabby state of the government of Germany after the First World War. Of course, Hitler himself wasn't exactly the model of perfect athletic Aryan beauty, but we've all seen Trump and his golfing whites. That doesn't really seem to matter. As Robert Paxton told the New York Times, quote,
well, yeah, as long as they stroke the male ego. I mean, a lot of like stupid men will be like, yeah, true. You know, I don't think it's bad to necessarily work on the health of a nation, literally and metaphorically, just to be absolutely clear. It's not like a bad thing to work on that, but it depends on what the subtext is. You know, why are we trying to work on that? Are we trying to work on that to make the country healthier, or are we trying to distance ourselves, or try to engage in some kind of like elitism? I guess that's the better question.
Focusing on leaders, Paxton has long held, is a distraction when trying to understand fascism. What you ought to be studying is the milieu out of which they grew, Paxton said. For fascism to take root, there needs to be an opening in the political system, which is the loss of traction by the traditional parties, he said. There needs to be a real breakdown. Fascist movements...
I mean, that makes sense. You know, I think it'd be ignorant to say that there isn't a level of, problem that the current... I guess the former, that's 10 years ago now, but the current system is engaging in. Democrats are obviously still better for the country, although they don't know how to brand as such. But yeah, I mean, we have before Donald Trump, we had an issue of both parties being pretty seismically fucking dog shit when it comes to the interests of Americans, right? And so that's how these things tend to blow up. Is that it plays on that? What Trump's offering is not better in any capacity at all, but it seems like it is. That's what it is. It seems like it's better. It's different. And, you know, since nothing is getting done anyway and everybody's lying, might as well vote for different. Might as well vote for populist, anti-establishment, because it doesn't really matter. We're so used to, people are so used to like hearing just words without any action that they're willing to accept somebody that's just anti-typical words, even if they, you know, because that's what you're just used to nothing getting done anyway, right? And Trump is getting things done terribly. He's not being particularly effective, but that's how people are interpreting what's happening.
Succeed, Paxton wrote, in environments in which liberal democracy stood accused of producing divisions and decline. And that was true in post-World War I Germany, and it sure as hell is true today in the United States, where income inequality is at an all-time high, and people are going bankrupt just trying to pay for housing, food, education, child...
And their avocado toast, am I right, guys?
...care and medical bills, you know, the basics to keep themselves alive. The MAGA movement has capitalized on this desperation and directed it into hatred for their chosen other, immigrants. And much like...
Well, really just anybody that's not a MAGA, but yeah, sure.
The current milieu in the United States is ripe for fascism. It's also ripe for the re-emergence of the heroin chic aesthetic. But the thesis that I would like to present to you today is that while I think it serves the fascist agenda, I think that this is merely a happy coincidence for the fascists and not the result of some vast fascist conspiracy. Because it turns out we've been policing bodies and weight for a long, long time. And that...
Yeah, I think part of it's because people find big people unattractive, but then part of it is that being overweight is literally unhealthy for you. I think we could probably find a common ground between, health, being healthier, and shaming people for their being overweight.
Policing serves not to uphold fascism, but instead to uphold the various ideologies that happen to serve fascism, like eugenics, the patriarchy, and neoliberalism. And listen, I can already picture the comments section. Some of you may think it's really not all that deep. In fact,
not really. I think that the biggest problem is that like nobody's looking at the relationship between Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo as a positive thing. So it's like this whole thing, it's not that deep because what's not happening. I also don't think that Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo being super skinny and like weirdly obsessed with each other, I don't think it has anything to do with fascism. I think it has to do with some kind of like legitimate mental health issue that's manifesting partially in an eating disorder, So yeah, I don't think it's that deep.
In fact, I went unwillingly into the bowels of Reddit to understand some of this health-based body policing ideology, and I found myself in a subreddit called Fat Logic, which, as far as I can tell, is a community of 35,000 weekly visitors who see themselves as healthy or aspiring to be healthy and promoting health, and feel that they are diametrically opposed to what they call FAs, or fat activists.
Okay, cool. This is like an online weirdos. Got it.
Who are engaged in, quote, lengthy diatribes about how everything is society's fault. According to the page's About section, quote, falling victim to fat logic means accepting misinformation that will harm efforts to keep your body at a healthy weight or lose weight if you need to do so.
Well, thankfully, I don't look at Reddit, so I'm immune to the PSYOP.
So much to unpack about this, but I noted some common objections that these health warriors had to so-called fat activists, equating thinness with fascism, because I have seen these same ideas swirling all over the place online, including in my own comment section. Those objections include that it's not that deep. Not everything has to be political.
I mean, I guess everything is political. I don't really know, but I don't think it is that deep.
So I feel like
I think it's probably a bunch of young, unattractive, uninteresting, unhealthy incel boys that are trying to say things because they feel upset. And they feel like they can't find a job and that everything is everyone else's fault. That's pretty much all it's going to be.
If you're watching my content, you probably already understand that nothing happens in a vacuum and everything is political if you just take a second to rub two brain cells together and think about it. That's not to say that everything is a conspiracy, but everything exists within society, and the way that we think and feel about ourselves and our bodies is absolutely influenced by the society we exist in. To pretend otherwise is willfully ignorant. Okay? And then a lot of the other arguments that they had against the idea that thinness serves fascism, I think stems from this idea, which again I've seen all over the internet, that there is a very strict binary here. Anyone who isn't preaching the gospel of maintaining a healthy weight is instead advocating for everyone to be so immobilized by their obesity that they can hardly get off the couch.
Well, I think people should make positive, productive steps towards being a healthier weight, like I am. It doesn't mean you have to do anything super crazy. It could just mean that like you auto-regulate your diet with like making sure you have like a fibrous vegetable with every meal. It could just mean like making sure you try to go to the gym, or just go for like a 20, a half hour or even a 20-minute walk or a 15-minute walk every day. Make just solid progress in the right direction. I mean, just like cutting down on sodas, trying to have more water, even like sugar-free soda. Definitely better than sugary soda, but even then, like maybe try to stay away from like the sugar-free stuff as well, because water is probably better than that, right? Doing your best to make a positive stuff. That's the right way to operate. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to lose a gorgillion pounds, but the goal shouldn't be to be like that thin, or it shouldn't be to make that much progress necessarily. You want to set like a realistic goal with yourself, so you have like an actual likeliness that you'll actually maintain, you'll actually do well.
Which is also, I think, a willfully ignorant interpretation of the body positivity movement.
Well, so the problem is that like there was some pretty poor representations of body positivity online at a certain point. It is a lot of online shit, so you could argue that. But like there was like stupid idiots that were talking about how like, like health at every size is not a particularly intelligent thing,
Is there problematic behavior within the online body positivity movement as well? You bet your ass there is. But from my experience, consuming that content for literally a decade at this point, whether I wanted to or not, the general idea that is...
I haven't really had to consume that content. I just stay away from those circles.
Most often touted by people in the body positive community is that a person can be healthy while not fitting the stereotypical ideals of what a healthy body should look like.
Sure, that's true. Yeah. I also think that we have to get it out of our heads that bodybuilders are healthy, because they're really not. Like they're pretty much all, especially competitive bodybuilders, are on different gear, and they're probably less healthy than most other people. So just to keep that in mind. I'm not saying bodybuilding is bad or anything. I'm just saying, just because you look good doesn't necessarily mean that you are healthy, or you're engaging in like, bodybuilding in and of itself, prepping for a show, trying to be 4% body fat is extraordinarily unhealthy.
That the BMI scale doesn't actually dictate a person's lived experience in their own body. Because some people can feel fine and have perfectly healthy test results and exist and function normally and still be considered obese on the BMI scale.
Sure. Obese is also like a really low parameter though. Like fucking 30 pounds overweight can be obese. It's kind of silly.
Thin people who do fit the body ideal could be incredibly ill. That judging a person's work...
Could be. I mean, if you're underweight, you could be very ill. There's going to be a higher chance that you're going to be healthier if you're if you're like at a thinner weight, generally speaking, than like a heavier weight, just to be clear. But yeah, generally speaking, sure.
Worth based on the size of their body is problematic, and that there is discrimination that happens against fat people.
I also think that one of the things, like one of the problems with that kind of narrative is people don't understand something. Like the most toxic aspect of this is for young people to get into. So when you say something like, oh, just because you're overweight or obese based on the BMI doesn't mean that you're unhealthy. And like, it's like, yeah, that can be true. But the problem is that there are a lot of young people that are, you know, just learning. This is the time. This is like the most opportune time for them to learn how to diet. Where like, yeah, you're probably healthy even if you're 400 pounds when you're like 19, because your body, it just hasn't like, you know, the shit hasn't caught up with you yet. And so like, that's something people should keep in mind as well, is that, you know, once you get 25, 30 years old, man, your shit starts going down fucking hill. And you want to make sure you're developing healthy, you know, eating habits early, so that by the time your body's like, oh, we can't handle this anymore, you know, you're not completely shit out of luck. That's another thing that people have to keep in mind as well. It's, you know, the age is part of the factor here.
Because our society has placed certain levels of worthiness onto people. That calories in versus calories out doesn't capture the whole picture of a person's weight and health. That things like
I mean, I guess
poverty, childhood trauma, and mental health disorders and autoimmune disorders that are, especially in women, criminally understudied and misunderstood, play a huge role in someone's weight and someone's ability to lose weight or gain weight or maintain a healthy weight. At its
sure. Just don't use that as an excuse to not try to do better. This is all I can really say. I don't know your life, but you know, that's all I can really say. You should try to be healthy, even if you're overweight, and go for walks every day, you know? Go to the gym.
best, the body positivity movement helps to complicate the conversations we have around weight and health, because it's not black and white, and we actually know very little relatively about nutrition and how the body works, despite all the advances in modern medicine that do.
I don't know if that's true. We don't know a whole lot about nutrition based on the body. I feel like we know a good amount of how nutrition works. What, is this true? I'm pretty sure we know pretty much everything we need to know about nutrition. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. We know a lot about nutrition, and you don't need to be a nutrition expert to know that you need to make sure you have fiber with every meal because it helps with your digestion. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. We know a lot about nutrition. We know about thermogenics, where like protein requires more energy to process than carbs, and then carbs require more energy to process than fat, which means if you have a higher protein diet, generally speaking, you can eat more calories because your body requires more energy to process it. I don't know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, calories and calories, that's simple. It can be. You have to like look into like thermogenics as well. That's what makes it a little bit more complicated. This is one of those problems where she's trying to overcomplicate it. Like, it's good to try to be healthier. You should be trying to be healthier than you are now. That's it. Okay? You know, if you're at a good weight and you don't do any exercise, go for a 15-minute walk every day. If you're overweight and you want to learn to exercise, go for a 15-minute walk every day. Do a little bit more. try to spend some time doing it. And then if you want to be like, well, I have all these things to do. Okay. You know your life. You can either make excuses or try to do better. Maybe go for a walk on your break. Maybe wake up a little earlier and go for a walk. Maybe like have, you know, maybe instead of getting a really sugary coffee in the morning, have a black coffee. You know, I don't know. Have a tea. You know, you are you. You're your own life. So try to make a healthier choice. That's what all you can really do.
Do exist. But for the people in the Fat Logic subreddit and in comment sections across the internet, having those conversations just glorifies being unhealthy and is nothing more than a misunderstanding of the clearly established basics of biology and physics. Okay, but instead of fully engaging in those arguments, I do actually want to take a step back, because this is a symptom of a larger issue that we should have a conversation about when we're talking about bodies and how they are policed in order to serve the ends of the government. Because what all of these conversations
I feel like everybody's fatter than they've ever been. So if anything, the government wants you to be fat. If anything, I think people could construct a conspiracy theory that like this woman is part of the fatification of America, and she's not even like fat. I'm not calling her fat. I'm just saying I feel like there's a lot of like I don't know. There's too much justification for being my weight. Like, it's not good to be my weight, dude. Like, it's really not good. If you're overweight, you're gonna have a higher chance of being sicker. Try to do a little better. So okay.
revolve around, whether within the fat logic subreddit or the body positivity movement or elsewhere, is this ideal of being quote unquote healthy. Not only that there is one singular ideal of what healthy looks like, but that it is assumed that all self-respecting people should strive for that singular ideal of health. And whether or not someone strives for health determines their worth on some level. This pervasive obsession with health, or even trying to convince people that health can exist at every size, kind of turns us into the proverbial some level. This pervasive obsession with health, or even trying to convince people that health can exist at every size.
Health can't exist at every size. What are you talking about? Was that she's trying to say it can?
Kind of turns us into the proverbial fish that is so surrounded by water.
That's what it sounds like. I'm going to listen to that one more time.
Someone should strive for the looks like, but that it is assumed that all self-respecting people should strive for that singular ideal of health. And whether or not someone strives for health determines their worth on some level.
Well, you should strive for health. Try to do a little bit better, even if it's just taking a 15-minute walk every day.
This pervasive obsession with health, or even trying to convince people that health can exist at every size, kind of turns us into the proverbial fish that is...
I'm a little confused. I don't know if she's trying to say that you really can't be healthy at any size. You can be healthier at any size. You can make that's how I like to look at it. Hey, try to be like healthier than you are now at any size. It's like the way I like to look at it. More than anything else, you know? It's like, yeah, you know, you could do stuff now that'll make you a little bit healthier. That's good. You should do that.
Is so surrounded by water they don't even realize they're swimming in it. In trying to convince people that fat people can still be healthy, we are taking for granted what health is, and that it should be the ultimate end goal for everyone, and that someone's failure...
What? Yeah, being healthier should be the end goal for everybody. Literally, how your health is tied to your life. What are you talking about?
To at least attempt to be healthy is a deep moral failing.
What? What are you talking about? This woman's insane. Did she just say
what health is, and that it should be the ultimate end goal for everyone, and that someone's failure to at least attempt to be healthy is a deep moral failing.
What is happening here? Am I mishearing this? I don't know. In her defense, maybe she's trying to say that trying to be healthy compared to like the perfect healthy is toxic. Sure, I agree, but like we should all try to be healthier. We should all make positive, productive steps to be healthier. That can mean different things to you. Maybe that means going to a Zumba class 3 or 4 times a week for you, or maybe that means going on a 20-minute walk every day before or after work, or maybe that means like having greens with every meal so that, like, you know, for the fiber, which is really good for your colon, even if you don't lose weight. What is she talking about, though? I'm very confused. I don't know. This is like, if I'm misinterpreting her language, I think it's because she doesn't know how to accurately speak to people. I don't think it's a me thing. I don't think most people would listen to this and get out of like a positive, productive message out of this. This seems to be mostly just like making you feel good for being overweight and not making you feel like you have to make a change. That's how I'm interpreting it. I think that's how the average person would interpret this. Like, yeah, I am overweight, and it doesn't matter if I'm fat. Like, that's how I think the average person is going to interpret this.
Back and identify that as...
And for somebody who, you know, seems to try to communicate it in an intelligent way, I don't think that that's what they're trying. I mean, I would hope that's not what they're trying to do.
Now we can start having conversations around the politics of bodies. Instead of infighting in the comments section over whether or not Ariana Grande is healthy, let's discuss...
I don't think... She looks kind of unhealthy, but okay.
Discuss why we have placed so much moral emphasis on health to begin with. Because...
Oh, I don't know.
That is its own social construct that has been orchestrated and promoted by...
Well, I would say that if you're... like, I'm an obese person, and like I will say that just because you're overweight doesn't mean that you don't work hard, but usually being overweight means that like you probably don't work as hard, like especially very overweight. There's also other aspects to it as well. Like, you know, you might be somebody who works long hours and struggles to eat correctly and whatnot. But I think that the reason why there's like an association with being unhealthy and fat is because, like, you know, that's the natural conclusion of doing less work and being less conscious about yourself and your decisions. And I will say that being overweight, especially like not her overweight, but like my overweight, it comes with negatives like brain fog that are not good for you, and they make you less intelligent. like just because because like your brain does not operate as well when it's clouded with like sugar and different shit. Like I don't know if people understand this. Like that's like a real thing. So it's much more complicated than, you know, like they're literally like not getting proper nutrition makes you less intelligent. That's why we need kids to have proper nutrition. It's like a real thing. I think that people should keep that in mind as well.
Individuals and governments for centuries. I'm, of course, not the first person to ever make this point. There's a great book called Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia by Dr. Sabrina Strings. So if I haven't convinced you that it is, in fact, that deep, please consider giving that book a read. It's really revelatory because when we...
Well, I know that there's, I guess, an association with being like, I don't know, different proportions and being black. And that's where that comes from. I don't think that that's where we're at anymore, though. You know, a lot of times when we're looking at unhealthy people, we're looking at like very, very unhealthy people that like are very overweight. And we're not just talking about people that are in like a healthy weight range anymore and shaming them. For the most part, we see like very unhealthy examples because, you know, we've modernized to the degree where everyone's life is easier. And it's easier to be fat because like there's less auto-regulation going on, right? Like back in the day, you had to work a farm. You're probably not going to really be fat because you just have to do a lot of work. Nowadays, like hard work is considered being on a computer, which can be hard work, but it's like you don't auto-regulate as well, so it makes it, you know, a higher chance that you'll be you'll be unhealthy because you're not hitting that auto-regulation, and it's not good to sit in those inside of that unhealthy habits. They're just bad for you. They reduce your life expectancy, increase your risk of having cancer, so it makes you more miserable overall. And that's speaking from experience.
Start examining how notions of health and what is the correct body to have shifted and changed throughout history, that's when we start to see how these notions perhaps are not orchestrated by fascism, but are certainly convenient for fascism to thrive. If we go back to the Renaissance, which was the 1300s through the 1600s, the aesthetic of the Rubenesque woman was the European beauty standard.
Sure, probably because people were super duper poor, and being fat meant that you had lots of money.
These women were stately, to say the least, often somewhat muscular thanks to the influence of Greek art on the Renaissance, but also full-figured. Some might say,
probably, yeah, sure.
God forbid, fat. Fatness equated to wealth, but also fertility, especially where you have a societal system dominated by feudal lords and the peasants who serve them.
Yeah, that makes sense, because fat meant that you had money.
Then came the transatlantic slave trade, the growth of the sugarcane trade that allowed for imports of larger and larger amounts of sugar into Europe, making it a lot more affordable and accessible to the everyday commoner. It was the increase in sugar consumption that helped precipitate a growing awareness of fatness and body mass because
sugar is addictive and it makes it easy to be fat. So it was no longer, and it became more accessible to be fat while eating lots of sugar. So, yeah, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this isn't just for wealthy people anymore. This is for everybody. Wait a minute. That's not good. I'm starting to feel like shit. All right, what's happening?
No, now the poors are getting fat. But it was the othering of enslaved Africans that helped precipitate the fear and dread of having a higher body fat percentage. The European fascination with the wild, uncivilized black body is best exemplified in the story of the South African woman named Sarah Baartman, who was put on display as a kind of freak show in the early 1800s.
Hey, call me a freak then. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, dude? Fucking great.
People from all across Europe would come to gawk at her because she was allegedly double-cheeked up.
Well, you think that they went to gawk because they were fucking super horny, and then white women were like, excuse me, husband. They're like, oh, no, actually, I think this is disgusting. Wait. If you think about it, men being horny is probably what started racism. Because they had to lie to their wife, to their white wife, to be like, oh, no, I don't actually think this is hot as fuck. No, this isn't actually giving me a mega erection right now. This isn't actually giving me the largest erection I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean, guys? Like, sometimes you got like that you got your normal size, and then you got your fucking engorged size. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy big, that's crazy big. It's like, wow, what the fuck is that thing? It's not even just about how big it is. It's also about how, like, stiff it is. You know what I mean? Ladies don't like it just like it big; they like it stiff. You know, you ever watching a fun like a educational sexual education video, and the guy he's like, you know, maybe he's big, but he's not really hard, and you're like, wow, yay, you know, it's like one of those things.
The Europeans saw it as a sort of living natural history museum. Not a human, but simply a freakish example of the exoticism of the African continent. She died at the age of 26 in 1815, and afterwards...
Was she eating too much? Sorry. Would she die of ligma?
Her remains, including her brain, genitalia, skeleton,
and
a body cast, were put on display in various
that's pretty fucked up.
Museums.
That's like the body museums. They use like Chinese prisoner bodies. It's terrible.
Skeleton and body cast were displayed facing away from the viewer to emphasize continued interest in her exotic proportions, and remained on display until the mid-1970s. Her remains were eventually repatriated to her homeland in South Africa and officially buried in August 2002. Like history.
Whoa, I was 12.
History is not that distant from us, you know? The point is that it was around this time, the late 1700s, early 1800s, and beyond, when the transatlantic slave trade was at its peak, when Europeans were being indoctrinated with the savagery of the Africans, that body policing away from full-figured women and towards a thin ideal began to first take shape.
True.
Victorians were real weird about labeling and categorizing everything, and a lot of pseudoscience sprung.
Well, that's what humans do. We categorize everything. A lot of different social constructs, you know, even how we categorize hands and fingers and fingernails and thumbnails.
Up to it.
By the way, guys, do you think I did a good job with the thumbnail? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Don't forget to check out the Papa Gut Leftovers channel. I bet she would like this video here. It's where Grok says that Elon Musk is more fit than LeBron James. I'm sure she would disagree, of course, because, you know, what does that mean? What is all social construct? We got some pretty great bangers. Like husbands need to stop filling their wife with their mental load, or my thirst trap here in this thumbnail about getting rid of the Boy Scouts. That's probably relevant to this video. So yeah, take it. Oh, this one too. She's kind of valid for this. This is a woman complaining that people don't hit on her at work. So, and she's kind of valid. If you want to know why she's valid, you're just gonna have to take a look. So take a look at the Papa Gut Leftovers channel for short form commentary. Let's go.
Attempt to reinforce the differences.
I always forget to do that, and then I'm like, oh wait, and then we got to do it again. Sorry.
Between Europeans and Africans, to try to create categories of people based on physical differences that in turn represented something inherent in the person with that physical difference. In time, the accumulation of body fat was equated with the out of control and barbaric black race, and it was the duty of the
That's fucked up, dude.
European woman to get as far away from that body type as possible. To be thin, to control one's intake, was a sign of refinement.
I guess the argument's going to be like there's still some callback to that. I mean, maybe. That might be true. I just feel like in general, that we kind of like exist at a time where there are people who are like so unhealthy that this just isn't the productive focus, and it's so bad for their lives that the productive focus isn't like, hey, did you know historically we've associated being overweight with being like black? It's like, oh, that's not good, but is that something that helps us now? You know what I mean? Like, is that really relevant to today's time? I really don't think it is.
Racial superiority, of godly self-control that no African could ever possess. Body policing coincided with the invention of races as a means of justifying continued enslavement of human beings. It's fine because they are different and worth less than us Europeans, and attempting to reinforce the supremacy of Europe and of the white race over others. This is, of course, also when eugenics was invented to give an official air to the racism through the creation of pseudoscience that sounded legitimate but was based on nothing. That's also when the early body mass index, or BMI scale, was invented. Remember how those Victorians loved categorizing?
We should probably change those up a little bit, because I feel like you could be a little more overweight than you used to be able to and still be healthy.
And making shit up. Yeah, this was one of those instances. In fact, the BMI scale...
I feel like this video should be like, hey, did you know that there's a history of racism associated with being overweight? That is true, but you don't... And we should keep that in mind to understand that like being overweight doesn't necessarily mean you're unhealthy, but we still do have a problem, especially in America, where our obesity rate's like, what, half, 50%, 40%? Even after adjusting for BMI, we have a very large unhealthy society, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And we should do things to make that better. Like going for walks is great for your physical and mental and emotional. Eating like shit and drinking 5 coffees a day and having a bunch of salt is not just bad for, it's bad for your physical and your mental and your emotional. right? Because you get high anxiety when you have too much salt in your diet and caffeine in your diet. Hey, go for a 20-minute walk or a 25-minute walk every day just to get out of the house and clear your head. Don't really use your phone while you're doing it. Try to just take a deep breath. Try to like adjust. Do something a little healthier. Hey, have like a vegetable. Have a fibrous vegetable with every meal. You don't have to be the pinnacle of perfection. And bodybuilding is actually unhealthy for you. For the people who are competitive, getting down to 4% body fat is very unhealthy. So don't look at that as like the top tier, but maybe go to the gym. And maybe start with something like a 5x5, strong lifts by Mark Ripto. Buy a book, read it. Don't just go around and throw yourself around at the gym and hurt yourself, because that's not something you want to do. Hey, like that's the conversation that needs to be had about weight, not, hey guys, did you know there was this big history of being fat and blah 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 and Ariana Grande blah blah. Just shut up. I don't care. Let's talk about now. Let's be productive. So stuff like this, I don't think is necessarily productive. I feel like it's performative, and it's info dumping. It's just trying to give you it's just trying to tell you information to feel smart, instead of like, hey, like here's how you can have a productive, positive impact on your life, and don't shame people that are trying to be healthier. Oh, okay. Cool beans.
Was heavily relied upon by Francis Galton, one of the primary developers of eugenics. It was originally created by a man named Adolf Quetelet.
What's up with these guys named Adolf? Not being very good.
Who was on a mission to determine the social ideal of the average man. His index was never meant to be used as a...
Guys, you might upset you, but this is peak male performance right here. This is the peak male physical body right there. This is what ladies want. They want strong arms and a big belly. And a strong back, so you can lift them up and while you grab their ass, or crack their back. Most girls just want a strong man that can lift them up from behind and crack their back out. Just to be clear, this is peak male performance. This is peak male performance. You didn't think that, but that's what it is. You don't know.
Medical test, but instead was simply a measure of the ideal, average, normal distribution of weights of men in 1835, and not even men generally. His data was taken from Scottish...
My wife in the chat said I'm very sexy.
Highland soldiers and French soldiers.
Whoa, ew, French? Boo! No.
It was, as is still the case for most medical studies, a metric designed for European men. The term BMI was coined by Ansel Keys in 1972.
Ansel Keys?
In a paper,
damn, we gotta talk about the peak male name. What the fuck kind of name is Ansel Keys? The fuck?
In which Keys also noted that the BMI was not fully satisfactory, but was, quote, as good as any other relative weight.
Strong arms and a big belly, so Santa. Yeah. Girls want Santa. Strong arms and a big belly. Walking around carrying those sacks all day. Girls just want something to cuddle with and to get gifts. And an older man to fuck them. Let's be real. Women are all weird. They're all so weird. That's like the ideal of man for like every woman. An older man that's strong and gives them gifts all the time. That's literally what women want. Santa Claus. Papa Noel. That's why they call me Papa Noel, baby.
Index as an
because I don't take any L's.
Indicator of relative obesity. Not of health, of relative obesity.
Not of health.
He also noted that the BMI scale was a useful tool for population studies, but not appropriate to be used for individual evaluations. Okay. So for studying population trends and data, BMI numbers may prove useful. But for evaluating the health of an individual, it is not a particularly useful tool. But because
sure, that makes sense.
Because it's so simple.
I mean, if you're overweight, there's a higher chance of you having an issue, but yeah, I generally agree.
And has been repeatedly published since it was originally created. It's been adopted as a tool to judge individuals based on their weight as compared to the average Scottish or French soldier in 1835. Okay, but that's kind of an aside. The point is that the popular notion that thin is preferable has origins in the transatlantic slave trade, fear of being associated with blackness, and religious ideals of piety and self-control, also as a means of differentiating and distancing oneself.
Well, I will say that eating too much is a self-control issue, and I think an addiction. I think that like not acknowledging that is toxic in general. You don't have to have it like have a religious center, but yeah, I mean, I think I eat a lot, and I think part of it is a level of an addiction. I don't say that to justify the behavior, because you never want to acknowledge the problem you have to justify bad behavior. But I say that as like a I say that as like an acknowledgement to try to like, okay, like I'm not a fucking freak for eating too much, but I do have a problem, right? It makes you feel better when you don't think you're a horrific person for existing. But it's impulse control issues. It's the same thing as smoking cigarettes, eating too much, drinking too much alcohol, doing drugs. These are all similar in their level of like addictiveness. Sugar is very addictive. I think that there are studies that say that it's almost or it's as addictive as like cocaine. Right. So like, yeah, there is an issue with it. You shouldn't be shamed for it. I don't think that religious approaches to reducing addiction are particularly good unless you stay in a very religious environment, which is not necessarily practical. But like, it's good to acknowledge that like, yeah, they are a level of addiction and they should be treated as such when it comes to like, protocols to overcome them. It's just more difficult. I think that, food addiction is worse than any other addiction in the sense that you have to eat food. You don't have to do cocaine or drink alcohol. Well, I do, just at family parties. And then when I do, I need also a cigarette because how do you drink without smoking a cigarette? Like, what? No, but that's one of the unique problems. I won't say it's worse. I want to say it's a unique problem. You know what I mean?
From blackness and poverty. In a piece for Afropunk, Leslie Vargas writes, over time, thinness has transcended race, becoming a symbol of wealth and privilege across communities.
The wealth and privilege of being able to have a meal cooked for you. And, getting a personal trainer. I think that diet, it's one of the biggest things I think is a problem when it comes to like modern people being overweight and why they might associate being thinner with like wealth and stuff is because we've gone from having to do a lot of hard physical labor, which just like was from an auto-regulatory perspective kept you thin, to doing a lot of work that's like sitting down and it's productive, but it's like online work. And so people had to like actively go, oh, like what can I do to be thinner? Like what can I actively do to be thinner or bigger or stronger? And it's like going to the gym is actually kind of difficult, specifically knowing what you're doing there. I guarantee you that no person that you really can't go online and look up like, oh, workout for a beginner and get a good workout. It's just not going to happen. I looked at working out for a beginner, and this is Planet Fitness. So you kind of scroll down, it gives you some like fundamentals, sure. It's like, here's some strength training exercises. Squats, lunges, push-ups, pull-ups. This isn't a routine. This is just the alphabet. Like, it doesn't give you rep set parameters. Box squat. Like, ready to channel your determination. This comprehensive lower body, blah, blah, blah. Embracing your routine, you're embarking on a journey. Aim to complete sets of 10 to 20 repetitions. What does that mean? Like, what does it mean? A routine is you go to the gym, you have like a general plan of it with proper rep set parameters, proper rest time, understandings of what to do when you burn out or overtrain, progressive overload methods, actually how to execute the technique, et cetera, et cetera. It's very difficult. If you actually want a resource, Starting Strength by like Mark Ripto is a great resource for that. But it's like hard to do that. You look up on bodybuilding.com, everybody's going to be like, oh, hey, bench press 4 sets of 8 to 12. What the fuck does that mean? Are they flat sets? Do you work up to a certain weight and do 4 sets of 8 to 12? Like, are they workup sets? Do you work up to that point? Like, what does that mean? It's so vague, and it doesn't take into account how to understand your body for when it comes to overtraining. And generally speaking, especially when you're a beginner, if you're not making progress workout to workout, like generally speaking, then you're not doing enough. If you're getting weaker from workout to workout, you're actually overtraining and your body's not recovering, right? Like, they don't teach you these things. This is one of the problems with like learning how to properly like diet or exercise, because it's like it's more complicated than people think, especially for weight training.
For Black women, thinness now operates as a form of social capital, a means to navigate a world that polices Black bodies with even greater scrutiny.
I feel like nowadays things are so different. I feel like you would say like stereotypical, like the European beauty standard or the Western beauty standard has shifted more towards Black bodies. Not 100%, but like we like thicker women now. Thicker women are considered more attractive than thin women, I would say, in our society, or at least that like there's a heavy push for it, bigger butts and stuff. Other stereotypes like more. I like to think that there are more stereotypes that are accepting of women that are considered more aggressive, which is a stereotype associated with Black women. Which, by the way, it's not like a Black woman thing, because my wife is aggressive as fuck. and she's a white woman. But I think that the standards are generally shifting. I will say Red Pill is desperate to try to say like, hey, we need to fuck kids. I get it. They're like, we need thin, young girls that are hairless. And literally will let you do anything to them and are completely inexperienced and never had sex before, and they don't have the relationship with their father, and they let you do whatever they want, right? But we reject Red Pill. Dude, if I could do a fucking pull-up, I would be stronger than like everybody in the entire world. What are you talking about? Don't tell me I can't do pull-ups, dude. You can't. If you were my fucking weight, you could do a pull-up. That would be insane. You'd be insanely strong. All right?
In spaces where thinness is equated with success, health, and desirability, Black women are pressured to conform to these standards, further erasing the rich diversity of body types within Black communities. And thinness definitely plays a role, but I would argue that it's...
Is there not just as much of a diversity between white bodies? I don't understand. Why would that be like specific to Black people? I feel like there's just diversity in general.
It's actually health that has become the status symbol, the commodity of the rich. Women can be trailer trash and also skinny, for example, but it is health that is put on this pedestal because it is so unattainable for the average person who has high cortisol from the stress of working and trying to pay for rent and healthcare and everything else that's expensive but necessary for living.
Or you can't afford all those steroids, dude. You know what I'm talking about?
Someone who doesn't have time to go to the gym or meal prep or have the energy to eat 3 balanced, high-protein, high-fiber meals every day.
Yeah, I think that part of it is like an effort that you could try to put more effort into. Like you could try to put a little bit more effort into your body, but it can be difficult to find time. But then also I think that some people don't work as much and they just kind of make excuses that they're not necessarily going to the gym. I remember I used to go to the gym while I was working. I would go on like my lunch break, which I know is like also a pretty big entitlement. As like I was able to benefit from that, but you try to find the time. I used to also be a lot more into working out than I am now. Pre-COVID, I was into like strongman training, but you get older and shit happens.
The moneyed class with leisure is the only class capable of truly attaining health at the level that society has deemed is correct.
That's not true. That's a little too crazy. I understand it can be hard to find the time. I agree with that 100%. For you poor people. No, I can understand that. But to say that like only rich people can be healthy at society's like deemed health, I don't think that that's true. I think if you're on Instagram all day, you'll feel that way. But in the normal world, like being healthier doesn't mean that you have to be rich, like and be able to attain this level of health. Like I don't think that that's true at all. I don't think that like the parameters on what it is to be considered healthy are so drastically high. Unless you're online and like in like these bullshit body positivity spaces that don't manifest body positivity in a productive, positive way. But like, I don't think so at all. I don't think. I mean, if you're comparing yourself to fucking Instagram supermodel, but most people really aren't unless you're online. I don't really think that. I don't really think that it's that fucking egregious.
This is not a product of fascism or being caused by the rise of fascism. This has been an issue since before Trump got elected. Heroin chic existed in the 90s under a Democratic president. Our boomer parents are almond moms with fucked up relationships with food and their bodies.
Shit, I'm gonna become an almond mom. Let me tell you. We're getting rid of all of our glass, all of our plastic containers. We're doing glass now.
Because beauty standards in the 50s and 60s were so specific that weighing 10 to 15 pounds more or less than you should would lead to ridicule and public shaming. Well,
not anymore, so that's good.
Fascist overlords can get away with more because we're all starving ourselves into oblivion is merely a happy coincidence of years of conditioning us to police each other over health. That RFK Jr. was able to capitalize on years of crunchy granola liberals falling down the Maha pipeline into anti-vax land where health has been twisted and contorted to fit an anti-science worldview.
I will say that we do seem to be gravitating towards anti-science. That's fucking crazy. With RFK, being like, it's fine to be a skeptic of anything, but sitting here and just like lying about the data about fucking vaccines and how effective they are is fucking insane.
That is based
even iDubbbz to this video is fun. Oh, a dumb. Wow, iDubbbz, that's crazy. Actually, why didn't iDubbbz just put his fucking reaction? I don't know. I don't feel like going into a whole tangent. I just don't. I truly blows my fucking mind. Dude, I'm gonna go on an iDubbbz rant, and I'm just gonna do it. I don't understand why iDubbbz doesn't put his reactions up onto like anywhere ever. He does he spends time doing reactions on his fucking Twitch, but then he doesn't take his reactions and put them on YouTube for more people to see in a more available way, that would prevent him from having to e-beg for money. Okay, and then also it's easier to get feedback. Like, I'm not a huge iDubbbz fan, and I have no interest in ever being a huge iDubbbz fan. But realistically speaking, what you don't build your credibility any faster than having takes on on other things. You don't need to sit here, and your take on Ethan Klein is horrible dog shit. But you don't generate your credibility back by having more takes about Ethan Klein and doubling down. You generate credibility by stop talking about him and start talking about other things and trying to have like an intelligent position on other stuff. And so if you know what I mean? And then listen to some of the feedback in a productive way instead of crying or having your wife cry about it on Twitter. Like, oh, I had a take on a video about this. Okay, I got this feedback. All right. I know all criticism is disproportionate. What can I take from this feedback and make my content better? And like, or how can I express myself better? Or how can I educate myself more? Or how can I... like, where is that? What are you doing? Like, what a waste of time. You'd rather e-beg than like do something productive with your reactions. Like, stimulate yourself by doing the reactions. Put them up. Maybe he doesn't want feedback. I mean, wow, you know what's a great feedback is making fucking money. How about that? He obviously wants money. You know, like it's so. Yeah, I think I don't understand what it is. Like, is it a self-conscious thing? Are you afraid people going to make fun of you? Who let them? Who cares? You know, you've put yourself in a fucking lolcow hole. If you want to get out of the lolcow hole, you know, you got to put yourself out there. It's the only way that you're going to change yourself. So,
on well-founded fears that our world is full of contaminants from major corporations that don't care about our health, and partially on conspiracy theories and pseudoscience. It's not a plan formulated by the Trump regime.
What the fuck does this have to do with Cynthia Erivo? She brought up Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, and she's been fucking info dumping for the past 20 minutes.
Instead, the Trump regime thriving where body and health policing has already taken hold. This racism, this patriarchy telling us to stay small and quiet. This was all already with
Shut your mouth.
Fascism just stepped in and said, how can I exploit this? So while I do love to blame...
look at this fat guy attacking Atreus right now. Is he a good guy, actually?
Fascists for the ills currently being inflicted upon this country, this one can be blamed on something else, something that implanted itself in America long before today's fascist takeover. Say it with me, neoliberalism. Okay, stick with me here. Mid-century America saw post-war prosperity and a blossoming middle class. That, combined with free market neoliberalism, to emphasize the individual, the entrepreneur, the bootstrapper, the American dream.
Listen, I like the bootstrapper. I think it's good to try to pick yourself over your bootstraps personally. I just don't think it's always possible, and we should try to provide people more resources to actually be able to do it. So,
self-reliant individual who relies on their own dedication and hard work, letting the state off the hook for providing much of anything. That was put on steroids thanks to, say it with me, Ronald fucking Reagan, who brought rugged cowboy individualism to the White House and sold America on the lie of trickle-down economics. Deregulating industry...
Guys, you don't understand. We just need trillionaires, and then it'll start trickling down. We just need to keep giving to the... Okay, this is what people don't understand about trickle-down economics. Okay, I understand that there's somebody worth $500 billion now, okay? But what you're not understanding is if we keep cutting taxes for the rich and increasing it for the poor, eventually when they have trillions of dollars, that's when it trickles down. You guys don't really understand. It's once you're at $1 trillion is when we start to see it. Okay, that's when we'll start to see it. Okay, so you guys are just uneducated.
Industries from sea to shining sea, leading to the monopolistic, deregulated hellscape that has catapulted the wealth of the 1% into the stratosphere while leaving the rest of us with stagnant wages, a predatory health insurance industry.
Yeah, this video is, yes, you just came in here. Yeah, this video is supposed to be about the cast of Wicked. That's what it started as. And she's like, before we get into that, I'm going to info dump on you.
Housing market. Thanks to that deregulation and the rampant capitalism of the last century, we are now sicker than we've ever been, and we can't trust businesses or our government.
Do you think that our sickness has to do with us eating too much food? So, like, I agree with some of what she's saying, but, like, the deregulation is, like, food deregulation and allowing people to eat like shit and lack of, like, health or food education. And it's making us fatter. You know, when you have non-nutritionally dense foods like McDonald's, your fullness signals don't go off as much. Whereas you could eat like less calories but more nutrient dense, and you'll feel more full. I agree that not everybody like has to do calories in, calories out. I think that that's like not a terrible idea. But a good way also is to just auto-regulate your diet by trying to eat more healthy foods as a way to like pad your stomach with like fiber so that you get less full. I think that's a better way to go, right? So it's like if you have like a serving of broccoli with every meal, all of a sudden, like you won't necessarily need to track your calories because you're not going to be as hungry. And if you actually listen to your hunger receptors, we'll say, you got to do that too. You can't continuously binge eat. You could lose weight without actually having to track calories, and your colon will be happy for you, because it's not good to consume a bunch of fucking horrible shit for your colon, right? But like a lot of this, you have to admit that like, you could say that obesity is like the symptom of eating unhealthy rather than it being a problem in and of itself. Maybe you could look at it like that if you wanted to, but I feel like we're not getting any good like conversation about like being fat. It's just like, this is just like obese porn, but not the kind that I like or other Jamaican men like. This is just like, if you're overweight, like shut up. People don't know if you're healthy or not. You can kind of tell based on how overweight somebody is. You know what I mean? You should keep it to yourself. But there's nothing productive about this. This is an unproductive conversation. Nobody's watching this and learning if they're overweight of like, you know what? I could do this better. They're just like, yeah, it's the entire system is a problem and not me. It's like, yes, the system is fucked up, but you kind of need to pick yourself up a little bit by your bootstraps to the degree that you can. You could always be a little better for your own life.
Government to do anything about it. But thanks to that rugged individual.
And the reason the government's not doing anything about it is because we're fat and lazy and don't try to stop them from doing anything. We could actually have a pretty positive impact if we got out and did more stuff, but we don't care because we are fat and lazy. Let's be real. She probably doesn't have a deep squat. She probably can't deep squat like Papa Gut can. Papa Gut has a deep ass motherfucking squat. It's fucking beastly, baby. Here we go, guys. Here's my squat video. Let's just get right into it. I front squat. I kind of stopped back squatting because I just don't feel like it anymore. There you guys go. You think she can pull 90 degrees? Alright. First of all, look at this back. Not bad. Got a little bit of shreds and cuts in there. Not terrible. Wow. I think this is 220. Yeah, this is 220. That's me coughing because I'm choking myself a little bit. Let's see if she can hit this depth, dude. Can you hit this depth, dude? I'm still choking. Look at that. Look at how deep it is, dude. Oh! What the hell? What the hell is that? Look at that depth, dude. Look at the depth right there. I gotta start doing more pause squats, though. Wow. Look at that depth. Look at this. There's my hamstring. There's my my calf. Boom, boom. Touching. Isn't that insane? Wow. Wow. Incredible, dude. This is 3. Wow. Let's do 4, dude. Wow. Incredible. Beautiful. This last rep's a little rough. You can see the bar started to slip because I couldn't get a bar that was had any knurling on it in the middle, so it started to slip. Not because of my back strength, it was just like it just slipped. It was kind of annoying. Maybe that's why she can't do that, dude. She's got no depth. 35, baby.
It's actually all our fault as individuals if we can't muscle through, literally, the impossible societal odds and just be healthy.
I hate rhetoric like this. I hate this type of rhetoric because it's like, hey guys, you have no agency over yourself. It's like, okay, you're probably not going to be better if you think that. Like, I agree that life do be tough, but if you go through life and thinking that you have no agency over yourself or your decisions, you're just going to fail. And it's like, okay, like if you want to get entrapped by that's fine. Acknowledging the problems of the system is good, but taking that and deciding you can't do better is what makes you a failure compared to other people. Like, you could always do better. You can't do amazing, but you could do better than you're in. And it can feel good to try to do better. You know, try to do better.
Much like MAGA today and Reagan last century taught
That was only fun. That was 6. There were 6 there, dude. Shut up.
to fear the welfare queens.
I'm not counting that last rep, though. I'm not counting it. I counted as 6, but I'm not counting it for my routine. I count that as 5.
And the immigrants mooching off the system. Anyone who is unhealthy because of anything.
You want to know who else is mooching off the system, bro? These cops on Long Island. Bro, I don't care. I'm getting so tired of this shit. We're supposed to love cops, especially out in fucking Long Island. You know how overpaid these motherfuckers are? Dude, I don't give a shit. I'm going to bitch about it again. Cops are fucking drain on the welfare system in Long Island. These guys make almost $200,000 a year after 8 years. Keep in mind, this is an entry-level position. I guarantee you it's more dangerous to be a nurse, so that's not a justifier. And they get a pension after 20 years at 50%. I'm pretty sure that's adjusted for inflation. Okay? And your seniority is transferable. So if you start as like a New York City cop and you move your way out to Suffolk County, theoretically, by like 45, you can retire at $100K a year. And then you take your first quarter of your year, you grow up and go to school. The second quarter, you act like a cop. Okay? And you beat your wife. And then the last 2 quarters of your life, you live on fucking welfare. Undeserved. Oh, they put their life on line. Shut up. They did a different job. What is the requirement to be a police officer? They could still be fat as fuck like I am. So it's not like you have to be thin. What, do you have to just be annoying and racist and have an authoritarian complex and think you're like better? Oh, you got to get C's in high school and get a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Whoa. Wow. This is tough. You got fucking nurses putting their actual lives on the line every day. The fucking nurses don't get paid like that. I'm not saying don't pay cops well, but $200,000 a year after 8 years for an entry-level job, and then when they show up, they act like it's a burden. Oh, why'd you call me? I was sitting in my car for 4 hours getting overtime doing nothing. Do your fucking job, dude. Shut up. They just like they act. Oh my god, I fucking hate cops. I don't hate cops, but I hate cops. It's just, you know what though? It's terrible. Because like it really is one of those things where like the bad cops, like the bad apples, spoil it for the other 10% of the cops. You know what I mean? So that's really the problem.
That might be.
It's ridiculous.
Attributable to lifestyle choices.
Would I rather have overpaid cops or not enough cops? I'd rather just just prolapse my anus. Like, what kind of a question is that? I'm sorry, I'm taking that question personally. Would you rather have overpaid cops? I'd rather have cops that aren't fucking assholes. Is what I'd rather. I don't think I need to pick between poop and shit. I think that we could have cops that get paid less because they don't deserve to get paid that much and do a better job. I don't think that we need you to make $200,000 a year and to be able to retire in like the upper 5% of society in order for you to do your fucking job in one of the safest places in America. I don't know. I just feel like, is this a hot take? Like, pay people proportionately? It's just it's a silly hypothetical that I just like. It's a cop cum guzzle question. Okay. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's a cum guzzling. You know, if you're a fucking cop in Alabama or something, you're like, hey, they don't get paid well. That's fine. We're not talking about Alabama. We're talking about the fucking annoying retirement land called Long Island.
Is simply mooching off the system because of their own ignorance, stupidity, and laziness. And listen, let me acknowledge, there is definitely personal agency when it comes to your individual health. I'm not saying people are just the hopeless, hapless results of their environment and they should just lay down and accept the nihilism of their situation.
Well, you kind of are communicating that. I think that most people are getting that as the doggy whistle from what you're saying.
Moving your body more and eating vegetables is a conscious choice that some people can make, but it is...
Some people can make. Most people can move their body more and eat vegetables. This is what I'm talking about. You can't even be like, yes, guys, you should do the best that you can, and you most likely can do better. We're not all fucking, 700 pounds with fibromyalgia, guys. Most of you can do better. And even if you're a woman with an autoimmune disease, that sucks and it is unfair. And the lack of research into autoimmune diseases, in my opinion, is a representation of why we still need feminism, because it is a predominantly female, oriented issue, or it predominantly impacts women. And I think that might be a reason why we don't look into it enough. But you could still do better.
Is the oversimplification of being healthy. It is ableist as fuck to decide that everyone can just choose health. And
most people can choose health. It's ableist as fuck to assume that everybody that's overweight has a debilitating issue that would prevent them from eating better. That's ridiculous. That's the actual ableist part. Okay? Oh, well, you might have this issue. Yeah, you might. Do you, though? This is one of the biggest problems when it comes to the way that this woman is telling you information. Is the fact that, no, you do not have the ability to understand the depths of their life. You don't understand everybody's time that they have, how much work they have to do, what kind of a potential food addiction they have, what kind of some kind of disability they might have. There's 1,000 different things. But when you sit here and you make a fucking video and the overwhelming majority of it, or the entirety of it, is ranting over and over and over and over and over again how, like, you can't tell me what my body is or how healthy I am just by looking at me. And yeah, sure, some people can eat better and move around, but, like, there's so many people with disabilities, blah, 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 blah. When you say this, what you're doing is you're inserting feel-good porn, obesity porn, the bad kind, into people's fucking brains. That's what you're doing. You're telling them that it's okay to fail. Whereas you could have made the same video that says, like, hey, you probably can do better. You haven't said that a single time. You exist as a slightly overweight woman that is probably very healthy, and you exist as a pick-me girl for overweight people, probably more women, because they're going to struggle more with their weight, because women tend to be more overweight, which is actually good for them when it comes to, like, having kids. They tend to have more autoimmune diseases. Women tend to have a predisposition towards, like, carbs and fats, whereas men tend to, like, enjoy, like, that's another conversation to have. Men tend to enjoy protein more, like, just like biological imperative, which is another stress and struggle. That's what you are. You're feel-good porn for usually, like, women, especially young women who might not have issues now, but need to develop proper eating protocols now, so that they'll fail for the rest of their life. That's what you exist as. You're not somebody that's helping. You're not saying, hey, here are all the problems, but here's how you can do better. Your entire video is a rant justifying bad behavior. That's the problem.
Self-righteousness with which healthy people speak about unhealthy people, moral judgment placed on people who are unhealthy, and assuming that body weight is the best test of someone's worthiness for empathy, that shit is toxic, and it mirrors the thinking.
It's also toxic to justify people's bad decisions
and worldview of fascists. It helps to normalize seeing certain people as more worthy than others, as worth more than others. And that is the...
If I sat on Twitter all day, this is the perspective I would have. And if I sat on Twitter all day, or I'd either have her perspective or the perspective she's talking about, which I don't think are realistic perspectives. Those are the perspectives I'd have. The unrealistic perspectives. Like, just like one of the extremes. I'd rather not have either of those. Get off the line, honestly. This is the problem with content creators. The problem with content creators is that, like, most of the time they're terminally online because they sit online all day looking for ideas of what to look at, and they don't have a grounding into reality. And so they sit here and they spiral and they spin and they over-intellectualize issues. And I know that, like, what I'm saying is not supposed to be like anti-intellectualism, but I do think that there are moments where things get so complicated, they get very simple. And this is one of those moments where it's like there's so much noise online about, diet and exercise and this and that and what's good to be fat and what's bad to be fat. And it's just getting really overcomplicated. Here's a simple solution. It's simple. You should try to be healthier. But that's going to mean whatever it means to you. Okay? That can mean going for a 20-minute walk every day. That could mean fucking taking a Zumba class 3 times a week. That could mean starting trains by Mark Ripto. It can mean one of those things. I don't know. That's what you should be doing. You're overcomplicating things unnecessarily in an unproductive way.
Central tenet of fascism. That is what leads to people getting kidnapped off the streets into unmarked vans because they speak Spanish or maybe don't have their documents in order, which is not a criminal offense, by the way.
That's true. And by the way, if you needed a reason to understand why Donald Trump was gay, it's because he's trying to deport all these big booty Latinas. So just think about that. If you support Trump, you are gay. Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being gay, but if you support Trump, you probably hate gay people because you're homophobic and stupid.
But we are able to look the other way because we are more worthy. We were born here. We aren't criminals. We're more human than they.
Well, I do think that people should be here legally. But also, if you're here illegally and you're not like a criminal and you're trying to do the right thing, I'm not going to shit my pants over it. You know? And also, we destabilize other people's countries. So, you know, it's kind of a factor there as well. And as much as you might want to say, well, that's not good. That's great. What do we do about it? Yeah.
They are. And the capitalists and the billionaires and major corporate shareholders benefit no matter what, no matter who's in office, because this creates impossible standards that we are all chasing, that we are willing to
They're probably going to benefit more under the right-wingers who cut taxes for billionaires. So, yeah. You know, I don't like this both sides bullshit.
And hundreds and thousands of dollars to attempt to attain. And all they have to do is tap into that desire and promise us a cure. So that when Ozempic, the miracle weight loss drug, comes onto the market, promising to fix all our ailments, to give us the thinness we so deeply desire so that we can finally prove our worth, well, the perfect storm is already there. And the drug manufacturers are simply cashing in.
Listen, I think I have a different perspective on Ozempic. I mean, this woman is going on and on and on about how it's okay to be fat and like how it's not possible for everybody to just eat a little better or diet more. So I take her words with a grain of salt. But like I'm on Mounjaro. It's a GLP-1. I'm on it for my diabetes. It's like not bad. It's helpful. I think that a lot of people struggle in their life with food noise, and it can be very difficult if you have 7,000 other tasks to do to also focus on losing weight, right? Or being more active about it. I'm not trying to make an excuse, but you know, let's say you're somebody who works 40 plus hours a week. So you get up, you have to prep for your day. Let's say you also have kids. That's a stressor. You got work, stressor. You got kids, stressor. You got to pay bills. That's a stressor. You know, you also got to take care of your mom. That's a stressor. You got to take care of your siblings. That's a stressor. You got to take care of 45 million different things in your life. And these are all stressors so that you can keep up with what's going on. And maybe, you know, you're great at your job. Maybe you're an incredible social worker, or maybe you're, you know, a great nurse or an okay police officer, because there's no such thing as an incredible one. And maybe you just need a little bit of help. And like you take a little bit of like Ozempic helps you curb your issue. I support that. You know, everybody is a pot of stress, and everybody's hole is going to be a different size. I prefer the ones with smaller holes that have a smaller plug. Okay. And sometimes you need a little bit of extra help, and that could be a GLP-1. I don't think it's a terrible thing necessarily. I think it's okay. I think you should do the best that you can to be healthier. I think if you're on a GLP-1, you should be careful because you don't want to just lose weight. You also, you know, you'll also lose muscle mass, and you want to offset that somehow. And even just going for walks or something could be, you know, help you maintain some of your like natural, at least leg strength, I suppose. But I don't think it's all bad to like do something about all the food noise that's going on. I will also say that somebody like her who's sitting here going on about how everything is ableist if you expect people with minor disabilities to be able to lose weight, I think it's ableist of you to discount GLP-1s as a solution to people that have food addictions, and even pushing even further, can help them with certain autoimmune diseases, specifically PCOS. If you have insulin-resistant PCOS, maybe a GLP-1 that helps you produce your own insulin, that might be good for you. I don't really know. But like, it's so funny how easily you could turn around the argument of like ableism, boom, boom, like that on her, because she doesn't have a grounded worldview. She has a very victim complex worldview.
And it is us online, in the comment sections, in our communities, doing the policing work that benefits the fascists. And the capitalists by commenting endlessly on whether or not people are living up to the healthy
I don't do this endlessly. This is not what I spend my day doing, so I don't have this problem.
Ideals that they are morally supposed to live up to, including
I don't have the problems of this because I don't spend all day doing this. I'm not terminally online, and I ignore fucking morons all day, so I don't really have this much of an issue with it.
Including Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo and Michelle Yeoh, who have gone too far, and I'm not sure they're healthy. And they're
probably not healthy, dude. You ever see the before and after pictures? I don't even think that their weight is the biggest problem. Their fucking mentality is a bigger problem. There's something going on there.
For they are worthy of...
It's fucking crazy. Dude, these videos are crazy. Look at the way she looks at her. What? Bro, look at her. Oh my god. Look, he's excited. He's shaking her hand. He grabs it away. Look at this. She's gonna kiss it. It's weird. There's something going on. There goes on, but there's something happened. Some kind of traumatic event happened.
Even through this press tour, something's bothering her. She's gonna fix something. I know.
Sorry.
She's getting the fixing itch that Cynthia Erivo
Right,
gets.
it's not there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because the thing is,
Biggest pinch me moment for each of you on.
You have been the light of the day. You are such a gift.
you brought such light into the room. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for coming into
you.
this room today.
We've cried 500 times today.
We've done it
today.
a lot.
We've been crying since 6 in the morning.
We are not doing it.
But we just had our own private cry in
Yes.
the parking lot.
Just because
What's happening? Something's happening on that set that's unhealthy. And their weight loss they've experienced is a symptom. Let me tell you. It's just a symptom, dude.
Of
It's crazy.
criticism,
It's something
which
going
lets
on.
everyone in society watching the conversation unfold know, puts them on notice that if they too step out of line of the ideals of health in either direction, this mob of criticism will come for them too.
What the hell are you talking about?
All this does is help the capitalists accumulate more wealth.
capitalists. More wealth,
So
capitalism.
sorry. Every video lately's turned into a Marxist criticism, but yeah, here we are. You're obsessed.
I mean, listen, I hate to be that guy, but like, you did a fucking ad read at the beginning of this video for both sides, like both sides dog shit fucking political app. I understand that, like, you know, anti-capitalists need to make money too, but like this whole video is just fucking whinging about capitalism with no actual solution. Hey, guys, and fatness. Hey, guys, it's actually great to be fat and capitalism bad. Oh, okay, great stuff, man. I feel like people want to. I think that this is what the capitalist wants. This is what capitalism wants. The capitalist overlords want women like this, or they want people like this to create videos that scream at you that there's almost nothing you could do to be healthier, whether it's just being more fit or losing more weight or even gaining more weight, depending on the type of person that you are and whatever struggles you're going through. It says that any inconvenience that you have, even if you can overcome it, actually, you can't. You got to stay there, and you got to be unhealthy, and you got to be lazy. Because what is that? And how does that benefit capitalism? The capitalist overlords? You're going to be too lazy to get off your fucking ass and go protest and vote in another direction. You're going to engage in a doomeristic perspective that there's nothing you can do to change anything. That's what's going to happen. That's what I think that this video is. I think that this video was created by our capitalist overlords to tell us to just, you might as well do nothing because you're never going to win anyway. That's what I think.
Obsession with policing the health of everyone around you only reinforces the narrative that individuals are solely to blame if they fall outside the confines of what you think is
They're not solely to blame, but you have a level of blame for yourself.
healthy. And in fact, what you think is healthy has been dictated mostly by centuries of men just making shit up, usually influenced
making
by the
stuff up.
patriarchy or racism
Patriarchy,
or
racism.
both.
Got any other words? Any other buzzwords?
And therefore, it is up to individuals to force themselves to conform to these body standards.
Whoa.
And if they can't manage to do that, then
Conform.
they are bad and lazy.
And
because
lazy
the end
and
goal
bad.
isn't really health.
not
Because
health.
if these people policing other people's bodies
Yep, that's
genuinely
what I've been
cared
saying.
about their health,
That's
that
what I've
would
been saying.
require a level of empathy that people seem incapable of extending to
She's referencing like Pooper Snoot 254 that said on Twitter that they hate women. You know what I mean?
those who have been othered, those seen as morally reprehensible because they aren't healthy, and it abdicates the state's responsibility to provide for its people the basics necessary to sustain
I'm a
life,
dog.
which is what I think the state ought to be responsible for. But for
Whoa.
capitalists, the primary usefulness of the state lies in its ability to protect property and nothing else.
and
So by
nothing else.
assigning blame to individuals and letting the state off the hook, you are playing into the hands of the 1% who say, yes, good, shrink the state so that I can continue to exploit people's labor and pay no taxes while everyone who works for me remains just sick enough to be too tired to organize against me, but
aren't you trying to
just
advocate?
enough
Aren't you trying to advocate for people to stay sick because you're not actually providing meaningful, positive, productive solutions?
access to modern medicine to remain alive, to continue to labor for me because they have to, because otherwise they will have no health insurance and no home. And oops, here we are, back where every single episode has ended lately, and that is class struggle. Hello. A person can be perfectly healthy and also technically obese based on their BMI. Whether
Sure, that can be the case. But I also think that, like, you should go for walks, guys. Hey, guys, you're probably not that person, and you should just go for more walks. You don't have to do Olympic level exercise to be healthier. You could just go for walks every day. You know, it's easier than you think. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be better. How come we're not getting that message in this video? I wonder why. Huh, interesting. You think that this girl has a personal trainer at the gym? Probably.
Whether or not a person is healthy does not and should not determine their worthiness for empathy and respect.
It depends on what it is. If you're like 700 pounds, I'm going to probably feel a little less empathetic for you if you have like, you know, sleep apnea. I'm probably going to feel worse for the kid with cancer than the 700-pound person with cancer. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you don't deserve empathy. I'm just saying that, like, you know, like, you know what I'm saying, dude? If you drive your car 150 miles an hour down the highway, I'm not going to feel as bad for you crashing as, you know, the person that fucking was driving the speed limit and then got T-boned. I'm just going to say it's something to think about. I'm not saying to hate fat people. I'm just saying that, you know, it's probably a little bit more complicated than the way that you want to portray this.
You can be the epitome of health and die of a heart attack tomorrow.
You can. You're probably going to have less of a chance of that happening. You're probably not going to be the epitome of health and die of a heart attack tomorrow, just to be absolutely clear. That's probably not going to happen.
Struggle to maintain your health through no fault of your own. There are so many huge industries that depend on keeping us unhealthy in order to make their money that the odds are frankly...
And so what you want to do is support those structures by not trying to give productive advice, or...
stacked against us. You actually can't tell a person's health by just looking at them. That's
some people can. Sometimes you can. I you can look at me and go, yeah, this guy probably has some problems. Like, it's okay. You shouldn't treat me like I'm an asshole for it. But like, you can look at somebody and be like, yeah, they probably have some issues. That's just how life is going to work.
literally why we have doctors and scanners and blood tests and
urine. Yeah, but even fucking doctors aren't that great. Fucking a lot of doctors are assholes when it comes to people's weights, and they'll just be like, oh. You have you have this problem? Oh, you have foot fungus? Well, have you tried not being fat? You try not being a fat fuck? Like, that's what you get from the doctor. You know what I mean? Like, the doctors are shit too, dude. What are you talking about? This video doesn't even know what it wants to talk about. Doctors suck, bro. A lot of doctors aren't even nutritionists. It's one of the problems. Like, in the same way where we don't have the doctors aren't nutritionists, is the same issue where we don't have fucking police officers as social workers. And yes, you should. I think that you should have to go through a social worker training to be a fucking police officer. What a hot take, especially in a rich county like, you know, in fucking Long Island. Wow, God forbid that the $200,000 a year entry-level job makes you go on, you have a 4-year degree in fucking being emotionally intelligent. Okay, so what are you talking about? Come on, you're all over the place. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're just like fucking, you're talking. You're just saying things.
Tests and DEXA scans and all the other shit we rely on so that doctors can try to see what's actually happening in our bodies, because turns out it's really complex. And while we all
and being fat is going to increase comorbidities, so
fight each other over whether or not we're healthy enough to deserve empathy or food stamps.
Bro, who gives a fuck about empathy or food stamps, bro? Just try to be better.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk has made $10 million in the time it's taken you to watch this video.
And you want to know what? Elon Musk is also more healthy than LeBron James, yeah. So.
You may think it's not that deep, but it so fucking is, okay? So what do we do about this? I would
probably just keep watching this video that makes you not want to do anything.
Challenge you to decenter capitalism from your life as much as possible.
Hey, how do we fix this issue? Just decenter capitalism. What does that mean? How do you decenter capitalism? Go vote. Go vote. That's what you should do. Go get involved.
That's kind of a major fix for a lot of the ills of society.
How does that? What does that mean?
Can you borrow the thing instead of buying it? Can you?
What does that mean?
Make do with what you already have. Do you actually need the thing to begin with? When it comes to your body and the impossible.
What are you doing? A Fox News? Don't buy your grandma a gift for Christmas? What the fuck is happening right now?
Standards being set around what is and is not the perfect health that you're supposed to be. That is being capitalized on by various industries to try to sell you shit.
What the hell is happening right now? What are we talking about? Am I fucking crazy? What are you saying right now? What? How is this helping you with your health? Decentralized capitalism by maybe borrowing some... Yeah, guys. Oh, hey, are you fat? Go to Savers and buy your stuff. Cool. Thrift more. How do you decenter capitalism? Thrift more. Like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Whether it's protein powders or greens powders or at-home workout equipment or protein bars or
Wait, what?
and the impossible you already have. Do you actually need the thing to begin with?
I don't know. Did you need the tattoos you have? What is happening?
When it comes to your body and the impossible standards being set around what is and is not the perfect health that you're supposed to be, that is being capitalized on by various industries to try to sell you shit, whether it's protein powders or greens powders or at-home workout equipment or protein bars or special weight loss programs or weight loss drugs or an at-home infrared sauna from Costco. Like, we are inundated with
What? Costco?
shit all fucking day because it's our responsibility to make ourselves healthy. And if we
Bro, what the fuck are you yapping about? I mean, you don't need all those things. You just need to do better. You notice how she hasn't given any advice on how to be a little healthier yet? You think that's on purpose?
don't, then we're bad people. So we're willing to impulse buy shit
God.
to try to make it happen.
Bro, get a Crunch membership and have some more broccoli with every meal and go for a walk. There you go. There's your advice.
Speaking from experience, a lot of the fat phobia that has been ingrained in us, we use to self-police, to shame ourselves, and it doesn't work. If shame works, every fat person would be skinny as hell, okay? Because
I guess. I mean, I agree shame doesn't work. I think that you could have a level of productive shame in yourself. That's how I characterize it. You know, like motivating shame. You could look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm not really happy with what I see. I do love myself, though. Let me try to do better. Here's how I'll do better. I'll start having broccoli with every meal. You know what? I'm going to go to McDonald's today and I'm going to get a fucking burger. But you know what? I'm also going to come home and before I eat it, I'm just going to make myself a small handful of broccoli. Oh, okay. I'm not even kidding. It's probably better than what you're doing now. Just do that. You don't have to do anything fucking crazy, bro. Like, just do better. Don't do perfect. Just do better. That's what you could do. Still be fat, but like with a little bit better.
because the society provides enough
Yeah, you
shame
become healthier by decentralized capitalism. True.
to go around, and yet we have an incredibly unhealthy population. So a major step is also trying to contend with the preconceived notions you have about your own worth inside your own head.
Oh my God.
Food deserts, childhood trauma, stress, anxiety, expectations of productivity from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. None of this is conducive to being healthy.
Cool. Guess what? That's life. So what can you do to try to be healthier in this society? I guess nothing.
The food industry spends billions of dollars every year on food science that is literally specially formulated to fuck with your lizard brain so that you cannot stop eating even when you want to.
Yeah. So again, this is what this whole video is. This whole video is you can't do anything about it because now we're getting into the psychology of advertising for food places, which is true. This is a level of truth. Like, you know, there is a lot of consumerism that goes on, and like part of it is trying to get into your brain to make you feel like you need to buy stuff. That is a true thing. Why does it matter? It matters because if you know about it, you can change that behavior. If you know about it, next time you see an ad that's targeted at you, you can go, okay, I know what this is. Maybe I won't engage in it this time. That's why you listen to this. But this person is just going on and on and on and on and on about how everything is bad and you can't make any decisions and you're pretty much fucked. And it's like, okay, great.
The system is specially formulated to make you ill and then make you feel bad for being ill. And
I'm pretty fucking ill.
standards of health that we are all being held to were largely made up and based off of centuries of misogyny, eugenics, and racism. That is,
I didn't know that they knew exactly what diabetes was back then. You know that somebody used to drink your piss to know if you had diabetes or not? That's fucking crazy. I'm pretty sure that's real. I saw it somewhere. I saw it on Facebook. I actually saw that. There was a guy who's in charge. They have to taste your urine. Isn't that crazy?
so
And if it was sugary, I forget what they called it. They might have called it like the lick or something. I don't know.
much to contend with. It's okay if your relationship with your health and your body varies from day to day. It's okay if you can't overcome the entire system while you're actively being oppressed by it. Health
Well, all this psyoping from her is good for you guys because if you don't listen to it, you can be moderately successful by putting in only a little bit of effort.
looks different for different people. You are not a moral failure if you don't live up to the made-up health standards.
Whoa.
And you deserve
Made up, guys. Here's your health standard. Don't have diabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. There's your made-up health standard. Try not to have those things. And if you do, go to the doctor. Try to get onto the medication because having the medication is a good idea to start with. And then try to get healthier to wean yourself off of those medications. And doing that doesn't have to mean anything crazy. It could just mean like a light walk every day. A light walk as well as trying to eat more, fibrous greens. That's what you could do.
to feel good about yourself no matter what you look like. You do not owe anyone your health. You also deserve to have the tools.
Wouldn't you, though, kind of like society, your health to an extent? If they're, if we live in a society of people paying for each other's bills and stuff, wouldn't you want to try not to be a tax burden? As we talk more and more about universal healthcare, which absolutely should exist, shouldn't we talk more and more about people not actively draining the system through unhealthy habits? I mean, obviously, a lot of this starts inside of the education system, but, you kind of have to set an example for that now for your kids. So, like, wouldn't you be like, okay, I want universal healthcare, but also I think it's unfair for people to burden the system financially by just being, lazy and not doing anything, even if they can do something. So maybe we should talk about making productive changes, even for myself, so that I'm somebody that, wouldn't drain the system and have to, eat up the system's resources, so that other people who actually have problems that really can't lose weight, they don't get the, they have more resources available for them. Like, wouldn't we have that conversation? Like, why not?
To have agency over your own health. And that is not easy to attain the way the world is currently set up. And that fucking sucks.
Okay.
But you also do have...
We live in the first world country. Please stop. Please stop.
Some agency. This is a yes and situation. We can acknowledge the societal hurdles and bullshit and also work towards feeling better in our bodies if we do not feel healthy.
What? She didn't even say like work towards being healthier. She said work towards feeling healthy in your body or being better in your body. This is ridiculous to me.
Whether or not you choose to do so does not make you morally superior or inferior.
Okay.
However, I personally have worked through my relationship with my body with a therapist and some EMDR sessions, which is a privilege not many people have access to. But if you do, I highly recommend unpacking the self-loathing, perfectionism, and self-policing that comes with especially being a woman in this fucking cesspool.
Yeah, I just recommend going for a nice light walk and trying to have some more vegetables every day and being really happy and content with doing that. If you sit down and every single day for a month, let's say you're very inactive and you eat very poorly, and every day for a month, okay, for 2 meals a day, you decide to have a handful of broccoli. Even if you do go get McDonald's, you still bring a handful of broccoli to work to have your work meal. That's McDonald's, but you eat the broccoli first to help your digestion. If you make the effort every single day or 6 days out of the week to go for a 20-minute walk every day around town or at a gym or wherever you go, if you make that effort and after a month you don't lose any weight, guess what? You're still healthier. And so even if you didn't lose weight, you still made healthier choices and you're a healthier person. That's a much better way to interact with your health and to realize that, like, while in most cases losing weight is better for you, it's not the only thing that will dictate your health. You're going to have a better relationship with yourself, with your health, with your body, and you're going to be happier, and you're building steps to, you're basically building onto eventually one day being very healthy. It starts with little steps. If you make it a pattern to just eat better, a little bit better, or to do a little more exercise, a year from now, you're going to feel inclined to take the next step. And that's what you want. You're going to hopefully be alive for a long time. You don't need to do expensive therapy and to unpack your trauma associated with your food addiction. That can be nice, but you don't need to have these drastic resources that entitled individuals who make money off of trying to tell you that you should be as fat as possible so that you don't actually vote. You don't have to be that person. You could just be the person that goes to Costco and buys a nice big bag of broccoli and makes some and snacks on it more. And eventually, you'll make new steps and push forward more.
And then I have found spite to be an incredibly motivating factor when it comes to my health.
Yeah, that sounds like you still have a very unhealthy relationship with yourself.
Like, I do it for me too, but learning about how the BMI scale...
Well, spite is doing it for you. Giving into your anger is something like being angry and giving into your anger is you-centric. Yes.
It was just invented by some dude and was never meant to be an individual indicator of anything. Learning about how racism and sexism shapes how society places worth on individuals based on body type. Learning about how white nationalism benefits from enforcing gender norms, wherein women should be small but not so small because we have to be healthy because we must bear the Aryan children.
You need a fat bitch for that, dude. What are you talking about? You need big bitches to make some fucking with wide childbearing hips to make babies. What are you talking about, guys?
All of that I find really inspiring, to never have children and instead spend my life figuring out how to be able to deadlift a small vehicle. You know what I mean?
No, because you haven't mentioned going to the gym ever a single time here in a productive capacity. So if you're like actually going to the gym to be healthy, why aren't you advocating for your people to do the same thing? Now, me personally, I wouldn't recommend deadlifting. I'm not even kidding. RDLs maybe. Conventional deadlifts as an older person, deadlifts are great if you want to learn to deadlift, but frankly, it's not really worth the. It's like high risk, low reward. Generally speaking, squats are incredible. Do posterior chain work. But like, why aren't you advocating for people to go to the gym then? Why aren't you giving resources to go to the gym? You know why? Because she has a personal trainer. I told you at the beginning of this fucking video. I'm pretty sure I made a comment about how she has a personal trainer. Okay, this is like a fucking entitled elitist that doesn't want to try to help you get the resources you need to do anything.
I also have hypermobility and experience joint pain no matter what my weight is. So I'm on a mission to figure out how much muscle it takes to no longer experience joint pain, which may not be within my control, but also makes me acutely aware of.
It's not just muscles though. It's also like proper execution of like movements. I recommend doing a lot of pause work if you want to really like balance yourself out. Like my knee pain went away, mostly went away. Once I started to do pause squatting, even my shoulder pain like drastically reduced. Because you're forced to like sit in that hold for a little bit, and it's difficult to cheat the rep. So that's something to keep in mind too, guys.
The aging process and concerned with having mobility well into my old age. So I try to extend myself empathy while also maintaining a sense of hope and agency over what I can control and my own wellness, and over feeling good in my body while maintaining realistic expectations and not buying into the unrealistic standards for health or thinness. And that's a lot to juggle. And I often really
It's like great how you're like not recommending to your fucking people that they should be going to the gym and working out. You don't need to have a personal trainer. Unironically, look into like starting strength by Mark Crypto. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is like decent stuff to look into.
Struggle with all
that to help you significantly.
Of that. But doing that work inside of yourself means that you will also be less likely to extend that judgment to other people who are likely dealing with things that are not apparent just by looking at them. And once again, we come back to empathy and community as an antidote to the fascist hellhole that is currently engulfed this stupid country.
I'm really not going to get over the fact that this person went on an entire rant about how it's okay to be like really unhealthy, and then talked about how she goes to the gym and probably has a personal trainer, and gave you zero advice on how to make other than expensive therapy, of course, but zero meaningful, productive advice that could attainable advice for most people. Like, I love that. I love that so much for us.
Become ungovernable by showing empathy to yourself and your neighbors, because that's radical. Also, feel free to drop in the comments all the reasons why you don't agree with me, because this subject really gets people riled up, and
you're advocating for people to just fucking rage bait respond in the comments to drive up the views of your video? Wow, that sounds productive.
Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. And if you'd like,
just so you guys know, I'm not gonna like ever read your comments. So, I read some of the comments, but I do what you want, but I don't recommend arguing.
To support my work, consider joining here on YouTube by clicking the big join button below, or supporting me over on Patreon, patreon.com/Legion Miller, where you get access to all these episodes completely ad-free. Thank you to my multi-platinum patrons, Mark, Sarah Shelby, Art.
All right. Yeah, guys, go subscribe to her Patreon to get more great content like this.